Good evening, everyone. The time is 6:57 p.m. and I hereby call this meeting of the Student Senate to order. We'll begin with a roll call. When I call your name, please say here or present. Iono Dimoff. Here. Moran. Rahman. Here. Rolls. Here. Marcus. Here. Jones. Here. Pelzer. Here. O'Connor. Here. Shin. Here. Utica. Here. Moisango. Here. Nievenhoven. Here. Kekun. Okay, Kuhn. Azan. Kameyer. Moyer. Hartley. Agarwal. Shamsai. Verriger. Papanikolaou. Snyder. Momini. James. Bailey. Dugan. Neal. Sloop. Pursley. And Cronin. With that, we do have quorum for the evening. We'll now move into the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Sergeant at Arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with that, we'll move directly into our Senate program for this evening, our annual presentation from the Iowa State Daily.
Hello, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Cleo. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Iowa State Daily. I know there's a lot of familiar faces, maybe some unfamiliar faces, but I'm sure you've probably heard my name in some way or another, and I'm sure you've heard of the Daily. And I'm really excited to give this annual presentation. And just to kind of clarify to you all, this is for the last complete year. So this will be talking about mostly the academic year from the year prior. This year will be presented next year by our editor-in-chief, Claire Kosher. So, Senator or Speaker Momini, if you could advance the slide. Thank you. So we're all student journalists, and I think something that's really important is we're written, edited, and published all by students. Those are ultimately our decisions that we get to make. In addition to that, we are also not funded by the university. We're an independent student organization as well, or independent rather 401c3 and a student organization. If you go to the next slide. We are not part of the Iowa State University. I think that's one of our most common misconceptions that with the Iowa State University Daily, but that is not something that we get to do. And as a 501c3 organization, we are allowed to do more independent journalism because we're not directly tied. In 2018, our students were able to get registered as an official student organization. That allowed us access to vehicle rentals and other things to allow us to kind of travel across the country to various events that are happening mostly with Iowa State athletics, but it can be political things across the state, especially with the caucuses and presidential elections when they roll around. You go to the next slide. So why are we independent? Our journalism reports on Iowa State in a way that a lot of organizations aren't. There's no one covering student government, GPSS, and faculty senate on a regular basis other than us. It's very important to me and to our organization to ensure that we are reporting on all of the governing bodies here at Iowa State. That ensures not only is there proof of record, what you all are doing, what you all are saying. Those automatically get printed and they get put in the library archive. So if anyone in 30 years wants to come by and figure out what you all were doing, they can easily figure it out. And not only that, but the arguments and the context of what the situation was happening. And that's really important. We also cover local town halls, protests, demonstrations. That includes protests across campus, town halls like the student government series, conversations with the mayor, other things that are going on, business openings, closures, every single Iowa State sport. And it might surprise you if there's more than you may think, track, swimming, diving, cross country. There's a lot of different sports. We've actually been able to cover club hockey additionally this year, which has been really great. Moving into the next bullet point, student organizations and university-sponsored events. I'm sure that you all know well about all the university events and all the student organization events. You fund a vast amount of them. Us covering them is basically the same principle of we're showing that, there is a community here at Iowa State. There are a lot of different communities here at Iowa State. We want to make sure that they're all represented, they're all shown, and that we are publishing them. And it doesn't really matter what the student organization is, but as you all know, there are a lot of them and there are a lot of events, and it's important that we are there covering them as the daily, as what is going on every single day on campus. And breaking news is an additional thing to that, whether it's, police things that are going on or other crime. It could also be things like breaking news in terms of press releases and other things that happen on campus. And there's been a lot of those, I think, this year as well. If you go to the next slide, we also hold Iowa State accountable. No one is covering student government, GPSS, and those other governing bodies except for us. But in addition, we also do a level of journalism that isn't represented by the university. You will never hear the university talking about why ISUPD and Iowa State University officials and employees were terminated, why they settled with the university, student issues. You won't hear about dorm bats, ISU dining food, Cyclone Welcome Weekend 801 Day, federal layoffs, federal grants. There's a lot of things that happen on campus that the university is just not going to talk about. And additionally, on the federal layoffs bit, I want to add that we were the first in the state to report on USDA layoffs, which is very proud. I'm proud of that fact, but it's also our responsibility. It's in our own backyard, and I understand this is very important to a lot of students. And I just want to express, throughout all of this, I think that we're always keeping in mind students. We're here to represent you all. We're here to inform you all. And if there's things happening on campus that are important, like USDA grants getting cut, USDA employees getting fired, it's important that you all know what's happening on your university and in the university buildings. If you go to the next slide. We couldn't report on these topics without fear of threat of shutdown or firing if we received funds from Iowa State. It needs to come from the students themselves, and it's important that they have independent control over the news. And after I graduate, that will continue to happen, and your funds have allowed that to happen, and I think it's really important, and I'll get to that in a little bit of what your funds have allowed us to be able to accomplish. If you go to the next slide. So just a brief history at the Iowa State Daily. I know that some of you may have seen this last year, but some of you who are new, the Daily was founded in 1890 and it's been in continuous operation for 135 years. The Daily was created by the Iowa State University Press, built Hamilton Hall, which is the current home of the Greenlee School of Journalism, and to house the Daily in the Iowa State University Press. In 1985, the Daily donated the building and the press to Iowa State. Later, Iowa State sold the press, the sale of which now funds research endowments. The Daily was granted a space on campus in perpetuity as a result of the donation, and we are currently located in the main/first floor of landscape architecture, which is right next to the School of Journalism. If you go to the next slide. So our structure is ultimately run by the Iowa State Daily Publication Board, which has faculty, staff, students, industry professionals, and alumni. They are the people who appoint the editor-in-chief, which I was appointed by last year, and then I ultimately get to appoint and hire all of my editorial team and the reporters. So anyone who's editor-in-chief gets to hire the editors. The publication board hires the editor-in-chief, and they also hire the professional staff that we have. If you go to the next slide. So we've always had a long history of partnerships. Student government has always understood the value of independent news for students and has paid a subscription fee for the Iowa State Daily to be available for students since 2010. And until 2019, that remained until it switched to a student fee for a year, and then it switched back to student government. And in 2023, that contract was amended to accommodate changes in enrollment. You go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So what are the specifics of the contract? So the subscription contract between the Iowa State Daily and student government is a 5-year contract, and we are on year 4. And like I said at the beginning of the presentation, I'm presenting on year 3 of that contract. The Daily provides an annual report to the student government leadership in October, showing our breakdown of finances and other measures student government wants to see. And this presentation is also part of the contract and fulfills those requirements to present on these additional measurements. If you go to the next slide, please. So the other thing that we have is a Submit News tab. This is very vital not only for our own operations, but ensuring that we all are listening to all of you all, because ultimately you all know your colleges, your residencies, your jobs, the places you go every day a lot better than I might even. I know LAS, I know the School of Journalism. I don't know a whole lot about the College of Engineering and every single thing that they're doing every single week. But they can come to us, the College of Engineering students can come to us, the College of Engineering students on our staff can tell us about things as well. And the Submit News form is really helpful for not only our stories that we get to put out, but as well as allowing, a constant form of communication with our editors. So there's also a contact form. Anyone can reach out to any of our editors about any issues, corrections, or just story ideas in general. And our policies mandate that we need to consider each submission for coverage or investigation. In 2023-24, we received 77 news tips, but I would like to emphasize that there are dozens of submissions sent to each editor, and including myself, probably every single week. And there are a lot more communication going on than that. And I think it's really cool and important to see that there are a lot of people across this entire campus who are reaching out to us who want you all as students to know what is going on. If you go to the next slide. Our core mission is unbiased honesty and integrity. Each of our stories receive 5 rounds of editing, and we also monitor all feedback outlets for corrections and feedback on our articles, and always want to receive letters to the editor. That begins with a reporter who turns in the story to the desk editor, who then edits, and then another desk editor does second edits, who then sends it to our copy editing team, who then sends it to our managing team, which includes me, so we can publish. There's a lot of different steps that go into that, and there's also a lot of different steps that go into ensuring that this is right for publication. I frequently, I guess I would say more on at the beginning of the year as we were kind of starting, would not publish stories because we want to make sure everything is correct. Everyone has been given the opportunity to comment, and that we are really going about this through the right due process and giving, like I said, you all the right perspective on the article, making sure we're not excluding any. If you go to the next slide, please. So our training investment is really a commitment to the Iowa State students who work for us. Like I said, we have students from all 7 colleges representing a wide variety of majors. Our trainings are add up to nearly 1,900 hours. Our fall training is the full week before the school starts. A new reporter training is 4 years for about 6 hours for everyone who signs up. It can also result in, or there can additionally be, weekly training and professional reviews. And that picture there is the mayor coming in to speak to us, because we also invite other people, other community members to talk to us, to voice, what they believe is important in the community. If you go to the next slide, please. So how we serve the student body, we have 38,000 subscribers with an average open rate of 35%. The industry average is 12, and it's really great to see that there is a lot of Iowa State students who care about news. And based on our own analytics, I know that a lot of you have been opening it this week. There's been a lot of hot topic news, and it really goes to show that our reach is large. We have over 84,000 people. Page views are over 1.7 million views. We have 32,000 Facebook followers, 20,000 followers on X. And we really have been trying to communicate our stories in every way possible, in addition to the Daily Dose. You go to the next slide. So our team makeup is a current staff of around 112. Our professional staff is a president, an advisor, a part-time advertising director, and a quarter-time writing coach. And our staff really does everything from A to Z across this entire campus. And we were able to be nominated during this year's, or for the 23-24 staff at the Iowa Newspaper Association convention. One of our photographers, our photo editor rather, Jacob Bryce, won first place for best photo story. That, if you recall, was the snow game in Kansas State, which is only possible because we were allowed a student organization designation to get a van to go down there, as well as Ashton Tack, who is a reporter, and myself received third place for best coverage of education, and that was surrounding the ISU PD incident where they took Derek Miles, Officer Frankie Contreras took down student Derek Miles in a campus town parking lot. I know that you all probably are fond of that situation. If you go to the next slide, please. And like I said, we have a variety of products, and during the 23-24 year, we had, as you all know, daily doses 6 days a week, as well as Renter Guide, our daily website, a Welcome Back, at Big 12 tournament editions, and Cloneworthy, which is a once-a-month print piece. Go to the next slide, please. So the application and funding is really broken down largely by personal expenses and then operating expenses, and our smallest chunk is cost of goods sold. And there's a lot of numbers on there, a lot of things that are going on, but I guess I would like to kind of highlight that there is a lot that is going toward, student payroll. Around 20% of our entire funding goes towards student payroll. If you go to the next slide, please. If there wasn't a partnership with student government, there wouldn't be the Iowa State Daily. In 2008, 35% of independent university newspapers would not be able to survive without student government funding or a student fee. In 2023, that number has raised to 93%. So without you, we would likely fall into the percentage that would not be able to function without funding. And it's really clear that your investment has not only allowed us to get awards, but also be seen by all of you in a wide variety every single day. If you go to the next slide, please. And your commitment ensures an unbiased historical record. We have campus news. Our achievements are celebrated. There's a third party that isn't the university holding itself accountable, and that students have a voice. Another note is that for last year's staff, we received notice this week that we received a Gold Crown Award from the Columbia Scholastic Press Association, which is, I believe, affiliated or somewhat affiliated with Columbia University, naming it the top student newspaper in the country for the 2023-24 academic year. The other Gold Crown winner was Loyola Marymount. The other Silver Crown winners were the Savannah College of Art and Design and Burr College in New York City. So once again, thank you for your partnership. Last year, I want to know, was the first year that we actually paid reporters, and we were able to get the Columbia Gold Crown Award in our first year paying reporters. And we haven't had that distinction since the 2021 or the 2020-2021 year, which was our last year focusing heavily on print publication. So thank you all for your investment in the Daily to allow us to continue to expand our digital news, to get more reporters invested, and to ultimately be able to win an award of this prestige and to communicate all of these prestigious articles with you. It's really been, I think, an honor to serve the students of Iowa State, and I'm really glad and hope that this can continue for decades to come. So with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Floor is open for questions, and we'll start with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Hello, I would just like to thank you for coming and speaking to us today. I am an avid reader of the Daily. I read it every single day. I have a question. When I see typos, false info, or misquotes in daily articles, who do I contact and where do I go to do so those can get updated as soon as possible?
Yeah, so we have like I said, we have a contact page, and you could reach out ultimately to me. I will make sure that gets done if you reach out to me. I know that some of you are probably familiar with Claire Kosher, the politics editor. If there's something regarding politics or even a student government meeting, she would probably be the contact for you that would ultimately be in charge of making that decision. But all in all, if you don't know who to contact, the direct editor or anything, my email is always available to ensure that corrections get handled.
Speaker Momini.
Can you go through a little bit more on this 5-step editing process? Is it different people who do those edits? Do you guys use AI to do the editing process?
No, we don't do any AI editing, and it's really, grueling, I guess I would say, Google Docs comments and suggestions, and that's really how we're all working in the same Google Doc, and it is, yes, each step along that process is a different person. So it's a brand new, fresh set of eyes, and it really helps ensure that, not only things that are correct, we're getting those typos and other things fixed, and that's been really helpful. Is there something more specific you had about it?
Yeah, typically when the articles are being reviewed, is it by somebody with the same background knowledge in the subject, or is it different people, or is it different every time?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have all of our desks. We have 4 news desks, arts and culture, sports, opinion, and each of those have an editor. So the reporter turns it into their editor, and each reporter is assigned to a certain desk. So that reporter will always turn their articles into a certain editor, and they, in that role of running the desk, is absolutely familiar with it. So like I said, Claire earlier, she's going to be familiar with politics as all the politics articles are being turned into her.
All right, and then I usually just go straight to articles based from what gets sent to my email, but on your guys' website, do you guys separate based on the types of articles, opinion articles, sports articles?
Yeah. If you go to our website, there's tabs you can separate on, or if you also just scroll down, you can see, I believe it's the most recent 5 for each category, and the news is all combined. But if you click our news tab, you can click on a subhead, and that'll take you to the specific desk.
And then is there a way that you guys decide what's opinion and what's just a regular coverage article?
So it starts out that way. So I guess if we're planning an opinion piece, or someone is planning an opinion piece, which I guess I would first like to say that the opinion desk is almost kind of a separate entity. I don't tell them what to write, how to write. That's really something that they control, because I don't want any editorial control over opinions. But say if we were going to have an opinion about a protest, or there's a protest upcoming, we would make sure, the politics desk is covering it. The politics desk would never write, I guess, because it's a conflict of interest, an opinion about the protest. So we make sure that not only are we doing semi-background checks for conflict of interest, but that people on certain beats aren't writing opinions about the beats that they cover, to ensure that they remain unbiased in their reporting.
I know, that's great to know. Thank you for all of that information. And then I just have a question about the breakdown. You guys use percentages in the PowerPoint, but do you guys have like an actual number amount for those that is not represented in percentages?
I could definitely get back to you and try to give you those numbers at a later date. I don't have them on me right now, but I could definitely get back to you if you want me to send you those, yeah.
Is there a reason that you guys chose to do percentages rather than the actual number breakdown?
Not in particular. I guess it kind of just showed an overall breakdown, rather than, if you have a bunch of big numbers, you can't really necessarily tell how it's broken down each time. So a percentage and the graph, I guess, is more of the showing. And additionally, I guess it's the same amount of dollars from student government every year. That's a number that I guess, the amount per student is not changing. So I guess that was kind of the logic behind it. I don't know if there's any like a direct choice to remove numbers or anything, no.
Yeah, no, I think it would be great to see the actual numbers. I know a lot of the senators here weren't here when your guys' contract were passed, so they don't even know the amount that you guys get annually, probably off the top of their heads, so those percentages don't mean a lot to them. Do you have the amount that you guys get annually, so we can get a rough amount of those percentages?
From student government? Mm-hmm. It's about, I don't know the math exactly off the top of my head, but I believe it's about $8 a student, twice each semester, I believe. I would have to double check that. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Like $545.
There you go. Thank you, President Hirsch. Yeah.
Thank you. I yield.
Senator Snyder.
I have 2 questions. First off, thank you for your time and coming to speak with us. But I heard something about reporters being paid by how many clicks they get per story. Can you clarify how your reporters are paid? Or
No, no, we don't use clicks at all. Analytics aren't driven by that. And I think that's an important element in student journalism. You can't necessarily base everything off of analytics. I think in a professional setting, that absolutely makes sense. Performance goals, I think at a professional newsroom would make sense, but we're trying to give students an opportunity. We pay them on the difficulty of the article, and that's agreed upon with the reporter and the editor before it gets written. So, if you're going to spend 4 hours at a city council meeting, that's going to be a little bit more than, 10 things to do on campus this weekend. And there's certain levels, and I can break that down if you want me to, but that essentially the reporters and the editors should already know before the article is written how much they're going to get paid for it. And there's no analytics. We have our own analytics goals, but we don't apply those to pay.
And my other thing would be, we went over the 5-step editing process. I'm not going to make you go back through that or anything, but I want to talk about just something specific. At the 4th Know Your Leaders Town Hall series, Athletic Director Jamie Pollard said something about fans being slobs, and the headline was extremely misleading as someone who was at the meeting the whole time. I'm just curious, is there any factor of trying to get people to click on these articles, for lack of a better word, using clickbait in headlines? What's the decision-making process for making stuff like that?
I wouldn't say clickbait. I guess if I said clickbait, I would probably change the article to a little different. When you use Jamie Pollard's words, and then we said he discussed something, and we provided further context in the article. I think that's the best that we can do. If we said something like, I guess alcohol is a very important issue to a lot of people, and Jamie Pollard did say those things about them, and it was certainly noteworthy what he said, and that's why we put it in the headline.
Thank you, I yield.
Senator Azan.
Thank you so much. First of all, I do have a couple of questions, so I'm going to start with a little bit more accountability part of your side. I'm involved in student government for past 2 years, and I've seen you last year too, and the ISU daily contract too. I have noticed that the quality of the news has decreased. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying it's a fact, but that's my personal opinion. Last year, let's say, just talk about a student government, because I can say on the behalf of a student government in that sense. There were some news that were reported misleading as well, and there were some cases about finance bill, about other bills, that were not factual. And I did reach out to that, editor, and I think I wrote to you as well a couple of times too. So I was just confused about the process, because these meetings are recorded as well. And if something is not factual and something is misleading, or maybe if you are not reporting the news by the name of the senator, or just generic statements, or without acknowledging the person, or without acknowledging the cabinet members or the senators, can you talk about the process? How do you do accountability if something has done, multiple times by the same editor or by the same reporter? Thank you.
As far as the correction, I can't speak for that specific example, but I guess if you ever have an issue where you can't reach an editor, you could always, specifically mention that you couldn't reach them to me, and I'll make sure that definitely gets handled. As for the quality, I guess I would disagree with you personally on that one. I think that we've done a great job, and I think their analytics show that we've done a lot better in terms of our reach to students and our reach on social media as well. And the Columbia Award for last year clearly shows that we were at a extreme excellence level, and if we take a step back from extreme excellence to excellence, I don't think that's a bad thing. And in terms of student government specifically, for senators, for people saying things, that's totally up to, I guess, the reporter, because we can edit as much as we can, but I can't watch a 3-hour student government meeting when I'm editing at midnight, because the reporter turned it in, it's been through 5 stages of editing, you know what I mean? So if we have a correction or we have an issue, we'll absolutely go back and listen to it. We can make sure that those quotes are correct. If it's something that is about someone saying something, like I know you said like grouped together, maybe not necessarily named. I know that there's been a couple instances this year where there's maybe a lot of people all saying the same thing. We try to group that down just for simple, concise. And that's really to ensure that our readers are staying tuned to our articles, because if our articles are too long, then they stop reading them. And we can kind of see how long people are engaged with articles. And we really have to ensure that, I think that's kind of, unfortunately, I wish that we could have every single person's almost like a minute by minute basis, but unfortunately people aren't interested in reading a minute by minute basis. So we try to do the best we can to consolidate, and sometimes, things might get consolidated that maybe shouldn't, but at the end of the day, it's ultimately the responsibility of the reporter to ensure that happens. And if there is an issue, we're here and happy to address that the next day for sure.
Awesome. So there are 2 issues. One is based on opinion of like a senator or cabinet member, right? If a person is presenting something, again, it's their opinion. You cannot say it on behalf of the whole cabinet or the whole student government, right? So that's why it's important to acknowledge that person if someone is saying that. Again, that's my opinion, and you can comment on that based on this. Then there's this issue about the facts. So if a resolution or a bill is not passed, and you are reporting that it is passed unanimously, or if a bill is tabled and you're reporting it was passed, and again, these are factual things that happen in past. And if you want the proofs, I can share with that email chain with you. When I personally reach out to the editor to correct that. And I noticed that, there's a lot going on, and you have to do a lot to, handle all this like small things too. But you do have a team, of X number of people. So you can always delegate to make sure there's an accountability factor involved. Someone actually go through, talk about it. If there's this precedent of the same mistakes happening by the same reporter, you know what I mean? So one time is okay, 2 times, 3 times, then there's a pattern. And what are the efforts that has been done from your behalf, from the ISU Daily, to actually make sure we are on the same right track? Can you comment on that too?
Sure, yeah,
Yes.
I mean, if there's ever an issue or a correction, you can always, like I said, reach out to us or the editor. If there is an issue with a reporter, consistently messing something up, then we'll have a talk with that person. But if it's something like a factual error, like I said, it's one of those things where I can't spend 3 hours, and we really don't have the manpower to have someone spend, 2 or 3 hours every night going through, not only, I guess, because we want to make sure we're setting the same standard for all the public meetings we cover. So we would have to do that for student government, faculty senate, GPSS, the Story County Board of Supervisors, the Ames City Council, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And that is hundreds of meeting hours every single week. That just doesn't really make it feasible, unfortunately, for us, which is why we rely on our readers, like I said at the beginning, to let us know when we mess something up, because as we are students, I guess I would like to ask, we do make mistakes, and I think that's very evident. We make sure that if there is a mistake, we're putting a correction notice. People are saying, if we got this wrong, we want to make sure people return to the article, they know that something's different. We always try to be accountable as possible, and if there is an issue, I guess I would like to say, ask for a little bit of grace, given, that we are all students, but if there's a repeating issue, like you said, we would definitely sit down with that person and ensure that, if we're getting multiple complaints from all of you all about a certain person, that we're making sure that that's getting factually correct for sure.
Okay, awesome. And the last question I have is regarding the funding. So I remember last time when we were talking about the contract, and there was this idea of getting external sponsors for ISU Daily to, I think it was $300K that we give it to you. I don't know about the exact number, but it's a lot of money that the student government give it to you so that you have a team of reporters to cover the whole campus, even Ames. Any update on that? Any external sponsors that you try to reach out to support the news that you cover?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's kind of a longer answer a little bit. So we've had, professional staff go in and out. We used to have people who are more dedicated to that type of thing, as things have changed throughout student media and switching from, as I said, being more student media, relying on student dollars, as well as us transitioning more to digital. We don't want to necessarily waste your money on a ad rep who won't necessarily get as much, or not an ad rep, but a fundraising rep who won't necessarily get something as back, you know what I mean? So we've had some talks with the, ISU Foundation. We're trying to get something set up, and the ball is moving for sure. I guess I would like to say, we're trying to move that. It's been, I feel like, there's a couple hurdles and other things, but we ultimately allow for donations on our website and reach out to our alumni for donations as well. That's something that we started up this year, and I'm hoping that, we can get something with the ISU Foundation. That would be really great.
Thank you. Are you?
Senator Hartley.
Hi, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate this. I'm a big avid reader every morning, so I really appreciate the hard work that you guys put into it. I was just noticing when you had the news tips slide that it asks for your name and your email. Is there a way to submit something anonymously, or?
Leave the field blank. That's why we don't require that the fields are submitted.
Okay.
So, I would say that you can, I guess as a general note, submit things anonymously, but we do really, really, really encourage that you put your name or a name, because if we get something like there's something going on in the College of Ag, and it's like a specific event or a specific thing with the club, and we have no contact, no student, no advisor, if we don't have any actual contact for that, then it kind of gets a little difficult, and a lot of those lead to roadblocks. But yes, we absolutely allow anonymous submissions, and anonymous submission is what led to the ISU PD termination and suspension, and that was something that was really critical in our reporting for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Senator Iono Dimhoff.
Thank you so much for coming and speaking to us tonight. Quick question, and my apologies, I don't remember the exact number, but I remember that the subsection for student payroll was around 20%. Can you just further break down what that looks like?
In terms of editors and reporters. I don't have an exact percentage or amount. I guess I could let you know if you want. I could definitely send you those numbers. But our editorial staff of our about a dozen editors receive a monthly stipend, and then our reporters and photographers receive, like I said, pay per article. So that's typically less because I guess our editors also receive pay per article. So everyone's basically on the same playing field. And then the editors who put in, a lot more extra hours, they also get a monthly stipend for what they do.
Senator Agarwal.
So I have two questions. First, what is the criteria for you guys to be accepting ads for the Iowa State Daily?
Well, I guess the kind of nice thing about the newsroom and a lot of newsrooms is that we're separate. We're literally in separate sides of the building. We don't really have criteria for ads really at all. We've run a lot of different ads, and I know for people who have been here longer, you've probably seen some that maybe raised a question mark or an eyebrow at times. But I would say for the most part, I'm not personally aware of any ad denials or specific criteria that we need.
Okay. And second of all, so you get $545,000 from the student government, and then I also see that you guys have a donation box under every single one of your articles. How much money would you estimate you make from that, and what is your total working budget as an organization?
I don't know that I have the total working budget. Like I said, that specific number I would probably be able to provide you after the meeting. As in terms of, sorry, what was your first question again? I apologize.
It was that you guys have like donation boxes.
Yep, yeah.
Right?
So that I wouldn't say adds up to an incredible amount on the website. I would estimate based on this year's number, maybe $10,000 to $20,000 a year. Not a substantial amount, but like I said, we're reaching out to donors, or not donors, reaching out to alumni of the Daily as well as the ISU Foundation. I would also like to add that because we were not able to be a student organization until 2018, there's no formal backlog of Iowa State emails because the Iowa State Foundation has those emails when you all register and graduate and put your personal email down. So we don't have really personal emails for a lot of people before that. So now that we've been able to be established for 7 years now with alumni, I believe, every year after year, I believe we're going to get more donations from alumni.
And then whenever you get to like sending the budget for your organization, would it be possible to get your overall working budget and not just the money that student government provides?
Yeah, that's definitely possible. And I guess I would also like to add, I know there's been a lot of specific numbers about the money, but there is a student government representative on the board where we go through deep, in-depth financials.
Right.
That position was just never filled this year. I know there was one applicant. That's all I kind of know. I guess I would maybe direct those more specific questions to be, directed to the board in the meeting, those people who are running those actual numbers. I'm not a financial analyst, I'm not an economist. I can give you broad overall numbers, but the people who really know those numbers are the numbers, or the people who are in those meetings. So I guess I would strongly suggest, I know there hasn't been at least a student government member since Jennifer Holliday, since I was been on the board. So I would encourage you all, if you're really invested, as it sounds like you are, to maybe appoint someone to that seat so that they are seeing all of the financials and can report back to you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Senator Moisango.
Thank you for the presentation. Do you look towards implementing AI?
No, I can't speak, I guess, for anyone in the future because my term ends in May, but I have been fiercely against AI. I think that even using it in an initial story component is disingenuous. If you're coming up with story ideas in AI, how are you supposed to ask someone in an interview? If you're asking interview questions in AI, how are you supposed to ask follow-up questions? How are you supposed to have the depth of knowledge in that area? And I think that even the research, the foundational level of beginning that article should not have any component of AI used.
Yeah, that's valid. But do you think that in terms of just looking for errors and things like those, fixing grammar and just making the components, if they are aligning well, the same way they are using it in the industry, don't you think that would be helpful for the students that are working with you so that they are industry ready?
The article, like using AI with students, or what do you mean specifically?
such things such as maybe error checking, looking into the depth of just enhancing the learning phase and fact checking as well.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't think that that's very accurate, or at least at this point in stage, something that we could implement at any time. There's no, to my knowledge, any AI that can, live listen to your meeting and give a summary of it, or live listen to a city council meeting and even fact check what we reported on later. Maybe that technology is coming, but I guess I'm not personally aware of it now.
I yield.
Senator Rolls.
I would like to yield my question to Director of Affordability, Bob Carver.
Hello there. First off, I'd like to say thank you for all the great work you do with the daily. My question is what is the process of fixing something that may not be correct? One thing I can think of off the top of my head, when the first USAID grant or USDA grants were being cut, you also had posted an article mentioning the ISU grant being cut, which was not accurate, as that's an Iowa State-funded grant. What's the process of smoothing things over with like the financial aid office and making corrections on that?
We've only published one article about grants. Is that the one?
It was like right when you were breaking it, it said USDA grants, ISU grant being cut.
Yeah, we've only published 2 USDA articles. The one is about the student employee who was terminated, and the other one is about the one that the Secretary of Agriculture personally tweeted about and tweeted out the contract and said it was given. I guess I wouldn't, you say it's wrong, I would direct you to the Secretary of Agriculture who said she personally cut it. That's what she said. We put, you were just using her words. We weren't using anything that was different. We couldn't even get a comment from the university whether they received these funds, who funded it.
Yeah.
I guess I would also like to say that, the university isn't really commenting on these articles, and that we have questions that we want to be answered for you all. And it's really frustrating when we all go to the university and they turn around and they say, we're not going to give you anything. And I think that article is a great example of something that we wish we had more university comment for more perspective and context. Absolutely.
Of course, thank you for all the great work you do.
Thank you.
Senator Azan.
Okay. How much time do we have left, by the way?
There's a limit on the length of the program, but not necessarily on the questions that we ask.
Okay, so could you talk about the process, the training that you mentioned for the reporters? Again, the reason that I'm asking this question is because I've noticed that there's some sort of pick and choose. Okay, so I like this thing, I'm going to put that in the article. I don't like this thing, I'm not going to ignore that. And obviously, you cannot watch the 3-hour-long videos to figure out what was happening in the meeting. So you have to trust on the reporters. And that is, again, my opinion. I'm not saying on the behalf of everyone,
Sure.
but that's my opinion about pick and choose, about certain things that needs to be in the article and certain things that can be ignored by the reporters. So what's the process that has been done by the ISU Daily to make sure there's, a certain basic level of training to make sure that's not happening?
Sure. I would say that pick and choose is probably more for a direct editor, and I guess I can get to more of the reporting as well later, but in terms of, I guess, as you say, picking and choosing, I guess that's more just defining newsworthiness, which kind of means something to everyone, especially as a student journalist in their first year. We are trying to teach that skill as much as the Greenlee School of Journalism, and I think that we do a great job, especially after even a month or two, that dramatically increases for our reporters, for sure. And I think that, you all may have seen someone new start off here in student government. Maybe they didn't do the best at the start, but I think that they definitely improved, and I got my start in city council, and I think that I definitely got better, and I did not know what I was necessarily doing at my first city council meeting. But, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of editor feedback. If I'm, as the editor-in-chief, I'm telling the editor, make sure that we're getting vote totals on these things, make sure that we're doing these other things. But otherwise, it's just mostly trust. And a learning curve for sure of just practice makes perfect, and writing more articles definitely makes you better. And in terms of the specific reporter training, we have reporter training that is before the school year and during the school year, and that's kind of just an overview of, how do you write stories? How do you interview people? How do you ask people for interviews? How do you write a headline? How do you write a lead? I think it's unfortunately and fortunately, we have a lot of different people across the entire university. Not all of them are journalism students. Our training is trying to be more all-encompassing and kind of like a basic 101 for everything that you kind of need to know. And the specific beats of, like you said, the pick and choose, that comes more with the editor and experience on the beat and experience on the desk that they're reporting on.
Okay, awesome. So don't you think that it will be more beneficial if someone who has a little bit more experience in journalism will show up with important meetings than someone who is just starting fresh, Again, you can comment on that if you like to. But my personal opinion, let's say if there's a meeting with, president council or student government or whatever, and someone who has a little bit more experience should go in that meeting, and someone who is just starting fresh can start from somewhere basic. So there's less chance of miscommunication, and that happened in past. So what do you think on that?
I know that at least having like a better person on student government, or I guess all the meeting coverage we do, it's all important. I guess I want to say that first and foremost, it's important. It's important that we get it all correct. But unfortunately, I guess sometimes is that meeting coverage is kind of our basic level of entry for a lot of reporters. It's their first experience reporting. It's very easy for someone to go to a student government meeting, the Student Innovation Center, they call it like somewhere in LAS of an event happening on campus, and go there, show up, and report on what is happening there. It's a lot more difficult to go and take, 4 or 5 interviews, mush them together with documents and photos and a lot of other things, and that it's a lot, at least in my opinion, a lot easier to trust that someone can sit there and listen and absorb and get better and learn. Because the other thing is, if we never put that person in stugov and kind of throw them in the deep end a little bit, then they're never going to get better. So really giving them that experience is something that I think is really crucial, and I guess a testament to my own learning. I don't think if I didn't cover city council for like 40 straight meetings, I don't think that I would have become the reporter that I am today. And I think it gave me a lot of practice and very good. I know that there are going to be issues, there's going to be mistakes, or we're still students and we're putting new people out seemingly, every week. So like I said, I would ask for a little bit of patience on if there is someone new, and if you see an issue, definitely reach out to me, the politics editor, and we'll try to address that with the reporter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaker Momini.
All right, I just wanted to ask about the comment for the seat that you guys have for a stugov member on the daily. I believe that you said you were going to graduate soon. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
If it's at all possible in the future, like I know as a speaker, I think it's incredibly valuable that we have so many open seats on so many different committees, clubs, and organizations across the university. Could you guys try and put something in there to contact one of the student government representatives and be like, hey, you have an open seat. Is there anybody who you want to fill it?
To my knowledge, there was one applicant and it was never reviewed. That's all that I'm familiar with. That was through the executive branch. I don't really know anything about that specifically. So my understanding was that the ball was moving and they're aware. And Jennifer Holliday, both being in it the entire last year and being in the Senate to begin the year, I guess would have maybe given some indication that you all know that there's someone on the board. But I guess it was my understanding the whole time that there was someone who applied and it never went anywhere. And I don't know the details.
Applied with you guys or applied with us?
With you all, because you have to appoint who it is.
All right, interesting. Thank you for that bit of information. And then I had a question about the advertisements that you guys use in the daily and how you guys choose those advertisements, if there's a criteria, if you review the ads before you broadcast them, anything like that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, we'll definitely review them if there's some sort of even a First Amendment violation or hate speech or other things. We reserve, a decent standards set, by the Supreme Court, to uphold these certain standards. And I think that it's important to, and we'll definitely review them if they're controversial. But I guess I would say that rarely we ever receive something that's controversial. I would say if you look through our ads, it is mostly local businesses, places on campus, the university, advertising. There usually isn't, to my knowledge, like I said to the other senator, there's not to my knowledge an ad that's been denied, and not really a strict firm criteria for what that is. But if there is something controversial and we see it, we'll definitely address it for sure.
Okay, yeah, no, there was just like an ad for, I guess you could, yes, a local business that it's like a gentleman's club, but they promoted it to, I just thought it was interesting, so I didn't know if there was a
Sure,
process behind that.
I am aware of that ad, and I was not in control of the daily at the time. So I guess I have not had the opportunity to review an ad like that, and I know that since then the ad has not run, but I was not in a position to object or review or anything in that position
Yeah, no,
last
great.
year.
Thank you for that. And
Yep.
then I just wanted to address a comment or maybe a choice of wording. I don't know if it was intentional in your discussion through the slides. You said that we were fond of something. I think it was just the wrong choice of words. So just for clarity's sake, for anybody who's watching it back, I think as a member of student government, I would say I was not fond of the events that happened with the ISU PD and a student here at Iowa State. I just think that was
Do you want me to talk about, are you saying, sorry?
like you said that student government was fond of that.
It was just, if you were a student last year, just a general comment, not necessarily that,
I guess maybe I'm thinking of fond in the wrong connotation. Like, to me, fond means that you like it.
Oh, sorry, I meant more familiar. Sorry, just that you knew
Okay.
of the context.
No, I
is
just
what
wanted to
meant,
give,
sorry.
clarifying behind that comment, just for record's sake. But
Yep.
with that, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for all your input and asking all my questions. I know they can be tedious. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Senator Snyder.
Just before I ask my first question, to Senator Moisago's question, you said you were against the use of AI in the daily, correct? What is the transcription service you use to transcribe interviews?
It depends on, who's doing it. I would say, at least for my own reporting, it's usually listening back to a voice memo that I take, not necessarily transcribing it, but listening to it. If we use a transcription service, or if someone does, I've definitely used transcription services for city council. Usually that's something where I would take it and look back at the quote. I'm never going to take the transcription for necessarily what it is. There's a lot of errors, there's a lot of issues with it. Usually there's not that sort of an issue. I know that there's sometimes an issue with the transcription that gets through, but usually that's something that's addressed. And at least personally, it's not something that I rely on.
Okay, I would just bring it to your attention that I know for a fact that there are a couple editors. I'm a PR major, so I spend a lot of time in Hamilton. I know that there are at least a couple reporters that work for the Daily that use Otter AI to transcribe their interviews and stories. I figure since maybe you didn't or weren't aware of that, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Thank you.
No, and that's something that we use to transcribe. And like I said, there's an additional layer to listen to it. That's just, if you listen to a 3-hour city council meeting or a 3-hour student government meeting, it's way easier to, try to find things. If you have timestamps and other things, then rather scroll through an entire meeting audio, especially when I know that the student government audio is sometimes kind of quiet. It's definitely helpful to have an in-person recording of what's happening.
And you are aware that platform does use AI, Otter, correct?
But not relying on it for our reporting, because we're still listening to the recording to ensure that everything is correct. It's not like we're copy pasting a transcription into our articles. There's still an additional layer that removes AI from it.
Thank you. I yield.
Senator Moyer.
I would like to say thank you for coming and thank you for taking your time tonight. I would like to know if it's like a further breakdown of the financials is possible. Obviously, you probably don't know right now, but I believe that if we knew what was going on, we could help further support you guys, especially because you pay your students, and I think it's important that we know how we can support them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I would just reiterate that I would hope that someone would apply and somehow get through to the board. I think that those board meetings are very valuable and very important to what we do. And I think that having a student government member, at least for some of, it was Jennifer Holiday, at least for some of the meetings that I originally, after got I appointed, I thought that her input was helpful and her perspective was helpful on student government. I think that those financials were definitely something that she or anyone else would be able to recall back to you and give you more specifics when they're happening.
Senator Kameyer.
So I actually had a question about the publication board. So do they meet like just in February or do they meet throughout the year?
They meet monthly.
Okay. So reading through the contract, student government is meant to have 3 representatives. So the student government president, finance director, and 1 appointed by the Senate. We never ended up doing, I'm assuming that this would be a floor election. So I'll just keep that in mind for the body.
And with that, any further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you for being here. We appreciate your
Thank
time.
you all.
With that, we'll move directly into open forum. Open forum shall serve as an opportunity for students to speak about any issues relevant to the student body. If there's anyone here tonight for open forum, I would ask that you approach the podium at this time. All right. Oh. All right, and so you have 10 minutes at the podium, and this time is yours.
Thanks. I can't Cory Booker it up, mad respect to him. So everybody knows what.
If I can interject, if you don't speak into the microphone, the broadcast, live cast may not pick up your words.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody knows what the upside down flag means, yes? That means that the state or the country or whatever flag is upside down is currently in distress. So it's not a desecration, it's not disrespectful, that's part of the flag code. And I would like to say thank you to all of you. I have caught little bird wind that good things are happening in the student government toward the respect of civil rights. So if I had a student government flag right now, it'd be right side up. So I appreciate that. We're making a difference. And I'm going to set this somewhere. So Operation Magna Carta Part 2 went very well. On March 31st, a few of us filed that criminal complaint against Kim Reynolds, Donald Trump, and those many other natural persons acting under color of authority who deprived the rights of classes of persons. And this Monday is scheduled. I'll be walking into the building where the Legislative Assembly is occurring. And I invite anybody watching this, anybody out there, anybody here, I realize you all have to have a position of neutrality, but when your legislative hat, when your Senate hat is off and you're at home and your citizen hat is on, you can go check wildwillpower.org, check the events section, and within 24 hours, layout of exactly what's going to happen. And at 3:33 p.m. on Monday, the plan is to walk into the building where the Legislative Assembly takes place and serve papers to all the natural persons now that are acting as legislators. Now, a lot of people say, well, why don't you stick the paperwork inside of their mailbox? But then it would be coming through the state, and the key difference is that, again, it was filed against their natural person, so it's a very key difference in law. For the sake of brevity, well, Lone Wolf and I talked on the phone this week, and he said, Sandra, tell them the rattlesnake story. They never heard anything like that. And I was like, okay. So I'm obligated to tell you the rattlesnake story. I was out in the Mojave Desert, and it was in the middle of the night, and I had this premonition of snakes. For some reason, I've had premonitions a lot this lifetime. And I was like, woke up. It startled me, and I woke up. And I got underneath the sleeping bag, and a little bit later, I heard snakes coming my way, and there was one rattlesnake. These things were not small. They were big rattlesnakes, and one was down by my feet twisting and turning, and I could hear it like moving really fast, but I wasn't sure what it was doing. And the other one was just, it had a perfect rhythm. And I felt its face right in front of mine. I couldn't even play dead. I was like, it was like dropping a mouse in a cage. I was like, it was like that. Sorry. And it started scanning. I could feel it reading my memories of every memory I had going of snakes back to when my grandma used to kill them when they'd fall in her gutter back in Nevada, 8 miles from here. And then I went through all these memories of snakes, and then 3 days previous to that, I had found a dead gopher snake that had just been hit by a car. And I took its body, put it in my backpack, hitchhiked about 200 miles from Bakersfield up to Fairfax, California. Don't worry, this is relevant to you all. It doesn't seem like that yet. And then tanned it, said some prayers, tanned it, sewed it to my gear. And when it got to that memory, I just got very calm. And I heard this voice, "You have made peace with the snake nations." And when I went back to Lone Wolf and Whitefeather and told them that story, they said that the Cherokee, according to the Cherokee tradition, the medicine people reincarnate as rattlesnakes, and it's a medicine animal. And so do not be freaked out by the snake imagery on my leggings. And because we have brevity, I would like to play you a song. This one, the first verse is about some of the uses for pine trees that Lone Wolf taught me. And then some of it is the second verse is about environmental studies. Professor Frank Schiavo, who I had the privilege of learning and teaching alongside, he founded the environmental studies curriculum at San Jose State, which took out across the country. That's why we have these environmental studies program. He passed away on my birthday on January 26. He was my best friend in 2010. And his spirit came and visited me afterward. And this is the song that came to me. It's probably not going to travel in the mic because I'm a walker, a rounder, and singer. I recently decided to switch my minor to music. Next verse is about Frank. Stay firmly, rock, stay firmly. The raging river rushes over thee. Your friends are swept away from thee to the streams, out to the sea. Your love shines ever thee. After precious patience, perfecting vigil praise, I've learned from thee steadfastfulness that's found inside of grace. The waters came, I held my ground, just as you do. With wisdom that your patience shone on, love shall see them through. All love shall ever be. Make my love ever be. Make our love ever be. Our love shall ever be. Grace safely, dear Grace safely. On planets created naturally. Should the hunter come to prey on thee, outside the trees, important thing, I would like to talk about Palestine and Israel real quick.
I guess point of order, it has been 10 minutes. Like, thank you for your time, but unfortunately, we do have open forum rules for a reason. Thank you.
There's a petition coming, and you're all going to be welcome to sign it. And marching the Palestinians.
Thank you again for your time.
Wait, let me get into the mic.
Thank you again for your time. We really do appreciate it. I can't express my gratitude for your commitment to showing up, but we have an agenda to attend to, and we have the rules for a reason. They're in our bylaws, and we have to follow them.
I will be very, very brief. I'm under protest on this. The marching the Palestinians.
Can I motion for a 5-minute
marching
recess?
the Palestinians out of their homeland is so similar to the Cherokee Trail of Tears or the Potawatomi Trail of Death.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Petition. Bless you all. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say. You just heard it. Thank you.
All right, with that, is there anyone else here tonight for open forum? Seeing no one else here, we'll move into adopting this evening's agenda. Are there any amendments before we do so? Senator Jones.
I motion to add the following bills: 2025-3-026F and 2025-3-030F.
I'm sorry, that was 26F and 30F?
Yes.
All right, is there a second? Moved and seconded to add items 026F and 030F to the bottom of new business. Are there any objections to doing so?
Or I believe those were supposed to be at the bottom of external matters. Yes.
Oh, pardon me,
Yes.
because those were from Finance Committee?
Can somebody who has those bills send them to a member of Rules, please?
Are there any objections? To external matters, excuse me. Seeing no objections, they shall be added. Senator Kammeier.
Motion to add to the bottom of new business, 2025-3-034F.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to add item 034F to the bottom of new business. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, it shall be added. Pardon? All right. Any further amendments to this evening's agenda?
Thank you.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adopt this evening's agenda. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, it shall be adopted. And with that, we'll move into approving the minutes from last meeting. Is there a motion to do so? Is there moved and seconded? Are there any objections to those minutes? Seeing none, they shall also be adopted. With that, we'll move directly into committee reports, starting with the Rules Committee and Speaker Momini.
Thank you, guys. Now I'll say that at the end because it's not related to rules. Anyways, tomorrow, rules will be going over the final version of the bylaws. You guys will see that on first read this week. The one on first read this week has some green highlights for additions, strike-throughs, or red highlights for you all to look at in case you're curious on the changes that we've made. And then when we go through it tomorrow, we will bring back the final version with everything taken out in its complete form. And so if you have any questions about that, I encourage you to reach out to me or any member of Rules. I'm fully confident in their ability to answer any questions that you have about the bylaws. So reach out to one of us if you have anything that you're concerned about or questions about. That's it. Thank you.
With that, the floor is open for any questions or comments for the Rules Committee. Seeing none, we'll move over to the Finance Committee.
Good evening, all. So for me tonight, you'll be voting on a few bills that the senators will introduce. You've all seen them before, of course, all of which are presented to you favorably tonight. One of the bills that you'll be voting on is the big picture bill. Like I said last week, I hope you guys reviewed that, as that's how we will be allocating the student activity fee revenue for the upcoming fiscal year. When that bill gets presented, I'll go up and I'll be available for questions if you guys have any. And also, we will be meeting for the last time on Friday We have one bill that's on new business, and last Friday, there were a few bills that we had to table for various reasons, so we'll be seeing them again in finance on Friday, and then they will be presented to you hopefully a week from today. Thank you.
With that, the floor is open for the Finance Committee. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll move over to PR.
Hey guys, if you guys didn't see already, our second episode of our student government podcast went up, was that today? Yep, that went up today, so check that out if you haven't already. Oh, there's a post on the Instagram too, so check that out too. Next Thursday, the 17th, will be our final tabling event of this administration. So for those of you who haven't gotten outreach credits, I think there's 9 of you, that'd be a great opportunity. I'll send details about that soon, get a sign-up sheet up. We'll be serving pizza again, giving away free pizza and merch, or calling it Gov and Grub. So I kind of show... We'll be showcasing some of our accomplishments of this year as well. Another thing is, please, everybody, go look at the website right now. Our director of IT has done a phenomenal job revamping it. So that's all I got for PR.
Are there any questions for PR? Seeing none, next is IDEA.
Okay, so we had a town hall on Monday, and we did have like good conversations around the new legislation and what we could do to support students and have more safe spaces on campus. But I think that's all I had, and our last meeting might be this Saturday.
Are there any questions or comments for the IDEA Committee? Seeing none, next we'll move on to events.
Hi, you guys. We are working on the final stages of inauguration. It's come to my attention that some people, specifically from other branches such as the Election Commission, did not know that there was an inauguration. So if that's the case, please email me so we can get you a seat and a meal, etc. And yeah, if you have any other questions, please let me know. Thanks, guys.
The floor is open for the Events Committee. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll move on to Local Affairs.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay. So last night at our regular city council meeting, we went over the 801-day cyclone welcome weekend ordinances. So make sure you guys check those out. They're the same as they were earlier this year. But yeah, just take a look at those, make sure you understand them. We'll go over them again in the fall and all that, and before the end of this school year. But that's about all I have for you guys. There's not a lot that's new, but yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Local Affairs? Seeing none, we'll move on to Sustainability.
Hi, guys. So we're kind of wrapping up on our meetings for the year, but we're presenting a Green Initiatives Fund to Finance on Friday, so hopefully we'll have good news for you next week, and that's going to be for more compostable cutlery dispensers in the Hub, West Side Market, and East Side Market. So hopefully we'll have good news next week. Aside from that, we have 2 tabling events on Earth Day, which is April 22nd. One is going to be in Friley Windows, focused on food sustainability, and we're doing that with ISU Dining, and then one is going to be more just general what we've been up to. We might reach out for help with like tabling and having people there, but I'll ask about that next week too. And then, yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. I think we have like one more official meeting. Yeah, so there's the campus cleanup on Sunday, and to sign up for that, you can either sign up with Braden for on-campus stuff, and then there's also going to be in the Greek community as well. So, yeah, and you can reach out to Braden for on-campus, which will probably be pretty good. Okay. And if you have any questions, yeah.
Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on then to Health and Wellness.
Hey guys, I met with Chris Strawhacker last Thursday. He's a campus planner. He's kind of the guy that was in charge of the app, and so I met with him and we talked about it. It's perfect. It's going to work really well for the safety walk. He's reaching out to organizations that he wants to have involved. Those will be more of like campus administrator type of people. And I would encourage all of you to take part in the safety walk as well. Right now we're planning April 24th at 7 to 7:30. We'll probably meet outside the MU here. If that time works for you, I'd encourage you to show up. But that's about all I have. I am going to yield my time to Senator Shamsai.
Thank you, Adam. I just want to mention that Friday is a birthday of Senator Dugan, so I want to tell her happy birthday, and yeah, that's it. Happy birthday.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, next we'll move over to the legislative ambassadors.
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're all doing well. I have an update on our workforce development grant proposal. So we're going to wait until October to get that submitted, our proposal, just because we are nearing the end of the legislative session, and it's funnel week and there's a lot of bills that are being heard. So after talking to members of the House and Senate, they said our best course of action would be to wait until October. So it will still get done. It's just going to be in the fall. So that's where we're at, and then we're going to the Capitol again on Tuesday.
Are there any questions or comments for the ambassadors? Seeing none, we'll move into that other category. This is an opportunity to speak about any committee that is not otherwise represented on tonight's agenda. Seeing no miscellaneous updates, we'll go ahead and move into comments from the judicial branch. If we have someone from the court. If not, we'll move on to comments from our advisor.
Hello. I don't have a ton. I think we're all just sliding towards the end of the semester. So if there's anything you need help with in terms of your projects for student government or just like your lives, feel free to come and see me. I am done traveling, I think, until after the end of the semester. So I should be around. Mostly I've just been working with Election Commission, but I will let them tell you about what we are working on.
Are there any questions for our advisor? Seeing none, we'll move on to comments from the executive branch with President Hirsch.
Hi, everyone. I don't have too much for you today. I know it's been a long meeting already, but I think you all are doing a great job. I was actually just at a meeting for the master plan of ISU Rec Services in Thielen. So if you have any good pieces of feedback that you'd like us to share to the architects and who's coming up with that proposal, please reach out and talk to me. And I know that they're also going to send out a survey about what students think should be done with Lake Laverne. One thing I'm particularly interested in is allowing students to ice skate on it and play pond hockey. I know we have a lot of people from Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa that grew up playing hockey. I think ice skating, having the ability to do that on Lake Laverne is particularly interesting, and I know that's one of the things I'm going to continue to pursue and make sure that students input is heard in that regard. I don't have anything else.
Are there any questions for the executive branch? Senator Azan.
Martin, could you talk about the ISU daily position that's supposed to be filled by senator in student government?
Yeah, I don't really remember. I don't recall what they were talking about.
So you don't know who's the pending applicant, supposedly?
No,
okay.
I do not.
Any way to check? I'm going to yield some time to Vice President Quinn, Margaret. Any way to check?
Could you repeat your question again? I apologize.
So as per the earlier session with ISU Daily, there is a pending candidate that's supposed to be representing a student government in ISU Daily. Is there any way to check who is that applicant, or can we do anything on that, or just ignore it now?
I really do appreciate the question, Senator Zahn. I think that's a great thing to bring up. I'm not aware of the details of the seat, and I'm not aware of anyone having applied for it, but that's certainly a conversation I would love to have with you.
Awesome. I yield. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions for the executive? Seeing none, we'll wrap things off with comments from the Election Commission.
Hey, everybody. Not a ton for me tonight. Just remember that the special election for the constitutional amendment would be next week, April 14th to the 15th, 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. 15th and 16th. It's that Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Is that right? My calendar's bad. So it'll just be 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. just so Christine doesn't have to stay up till 12 figuring that out. So I encourage people to vote. EC won't be doing a ton of stuff with that because we are working on redoing the code, so we're going to start early. Kind of what we have planned is just split into different groups to look at different parts of the code. So we're basically doing a total rewrite of it just to make sure that it's up to date because over the time we've kind of just been grafting stuff on to the old code, so we're just kind of relook at the whole thing to make it better for next year. So And also, we won the competition with Iowa. I know Tatum put that in the thing. Iowa hasn't admitted to this loss. They haven't conceded. I haven't got an email, but I know it's official. So we'll be getting the trophy soon. Hopefully it's here by inauguration. Is this even on? Yes. It is on? Oh, I just can't hear myself. So hopefully we will have that by inauguration. There's no guarantee. There was just an issue with the proof, so we are hoping to get that soon. We'll let you guys know soon. I'll probably send a picture in the Teams.
Open for questions, starting with President Hirsch.
Santi, do they know what the word conceited means?
Conceited or conceited with a T?
Both.
Both? I hope. They're Hawkeyes, so I don't know. 50.
Speaker Momine.
Different note. I just want to say congratulations to the Election Commission. You guys did a wonderful
Thank you.
job. So just congratulations again.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments for the commission? Seeing none, we can go ahead and move into our business for this evening, starting first with External Matter 2025-3-031F, funding the Night of African Cultures event with Senator Kameyer.
Hi, everyone. So this is the first of 4 finance bills that we will be voting on. I do believe we have a representative here. Yeah, if you want to come to the front for questions. And this did pass through favorably in Finance Committee.
So if there's anything you'd like to share, you can go ahead, or we can go straight to questions.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mariam Achasa. I am the treasurer for Africa Learning and Evolving, short form AFLEC. So there's usually AFLEC is more about a community of African students. Mostly we have graduate students in our organization and, some undergraduate too, but we are most dominated by graduate students. And then we help, incoming students to settle in, coming all the way from Africa to settle in this, in Iowa State. For example, from my personal experience, when I came in here, I came in during the spring semester, and it was very cold. It was like a very big transition for me. So coming into, this kind of organization to receive me as a person and make me feel like, home away from home was a big deal. And it is a big deal for most of our members of the organization. So we have lots of activities throughout the semester, and this one in particular is called the Night of African Culture. So we are planning to hold this event on the 26th of April, where we have African students together, to unwind and, talk about things, help us know how, can help ourselves grow professionally and, academically and things like that, just to unwind. Yep.
Thank you very much. And with that, the floor is open for debate, starting with Senator Utica.
It's kind of not a question. I just want to throw my support for AFLEC. When I came here, it was part of, this organization helped me, and not just for Africans, but especially for those with families, because we have some Africans that come here with their kids and everything. So this organization actually helps in actually making the transition from whatever country they came from to here easier. So I'm throwing my support for this organization, and I hope this bill passes. Thank you.
Speaker Momine.
First, thank you for coming. I'm going to quickly motion to remove Senator Shamsai from the roll.
Moved and seconded. Are there any objections?
And then,
Seeing none, he shall be removed from the roll.
thanks.
Yep.
Can we add the time of this event and possibly the location if that's known? For anybody who wants to attend?
Come again with your question, please. Can you repeat
The time and place of the event?
This event is scheduled to hold in Carver Hall. We already have a hall for it. It's going to be in Carver Hall. Just give me a sec. I can look for the the specific hall, but it's going to be in Carver Hall. And the time is going to be from 12 noon to, from 4 to 9 p.m., I believe.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that information. I just think it's nice for anybody who wants to attend to know when and where. I think this is awesome and a great show of community and culture here at Iowa State. So thank you again.
All right, is there any further debate? If not, before we vote, I would entertain a quick motion to remove Senators Jones and Dimoff from the roll.
I mean, they're standing outside, so probably we're going to bounce back.
Would you like to tell them we're about to vote? I appreciate that. We'll wait just a moment on that.
Can I at least call to question?
You may.
Objection, we need to remove them from the roll first?
If we do wish to remove them from the roll, yes. So we can give Senators on 1 second, or we could.
I motion.
They need more time. They were discussing something.
I motion to remove Senator Jones and Iona Dimoff from the roll.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, they shall be removed from the roll, and we can go ahead and re-add them after we voted for the next item. Are there any objections? Seeing none, any closing comments with Senator Kameyer?
I'll just again say I love that we're able to fund events like this.
All right, so with that, seeing as this is a finance bill, we'll move directly into a roll call vote. Starting with Moran. Yes. Rahman.
Here, yes, sorry.
Rolls. Marcus.
Yes.
Pelzer.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Shin. Utica.
Yes.
Moisango.
Yes.
Nievenhoven.
Yes.
Kekun. Oh, not present. Azan.
Yes.
Kameyer.
Yes.
Moyer.
Yes.
Hartley. Agarwal. Verriger. Papa Nicolau. Snyder. Momini. James. Bailey. Dugan. Neal. Sloop. Pursley. And Cronin. 1 moment while we tally that. All right, so with a final vote of 26 to 0 to 0 and 2 heres, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll see item 2025-3-033F, Big Picture Annual Allocations for Fiscal Year 26 with Senator Nievenhoven.
Hi, everyone. This is our big picture annual allocations. These numbers are constituted by our bylaws, but if you do have any questions, let us know. Evan's up there if you have any questions, too.
What he just said, most of these numbers here are outlined in our bylaws, how much we're supposed to allocate to each of these accounts. I guess for those of you who aren't privy to those bylaws and exactly what it is you're looking at all of the accounts that are managed by student government and the finance director. So whenever you guys are approving funds like you just did now, it's coming out of, these accounts here. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward. At the bottom, you'll see what's expected, the revenue from the student activity fee. And then that is dispersed in the accounts above. And then also you'll see one of the ones there say the annual allocation account. If you remember, that's what you voted on last week. And that is broken down. The two appendixes, the links on that bill lead to a very detailed breakdown exactly how much was allocated to each student org. So yeah, it's pretty transparent.
And with that, the floor is open for discussion, starting with Senator James.
I move to remove Senator Luke from the
Moved and seconded to remove Senator Utica from the roll. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing none, thank you. He shall be removed. Then we'll move over to Senator Azan.
Okay, can you talk about the numbers? Are they fixed numbers, for example, events account or executive initiative accounts and all the other accounts? Or these numbers can change based on the discussion of based on the recommendation of the Senate, or maybe based on the recommendation of the Finance Committee?
Sure. So you said executive and events, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the executive account is, the number is outlined in the bylaws, which is $5,000. And if I remember correctly, the events account, I believe it's up to $60,000. But in years past, we've been doing 30, and to be honest, we don't get that many requests that would come out of the events account. And this year and in years past, 30,000 has been sufficient. We haven't seen that frankly, we're not allocating the full 30,000 from that account, but from what we've seen, that's appropriate. And of course, if that account does hit zero throughout the year, there's always an opportunity to present a bill to you all to remove funds from our special projects account and back into that account. And also, in the bylaws, it details the events account. It's a little bit more flexible in how we're able to spend those funds.
Awesome. Okay, for the executive initiative account, did you get a chance to talk to the new elective executives to think what projects they have, and this money will be enough for their project to initiate?
Yeah. No, the answer to your question is no, but that is a no because I can't, the bylaws just tells me to put 5,000 in there. I can't do more or less. So if you all think that an increase is appropriate, then that would be, you guys would have to change the bylaws. Yeah.
Okay, I yield.
With that, the floor is open for any further debate. Oh, Senator Agarwal. Oh. Moved and seconded to add Senators Iono Dimov and Senator Jones back to the roll. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing none, they shall be added. Call a question, I believe. Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments from Senator Nievenhoven? All right. Is it a question? All right, so seeing no closing comments from Senator Nievenhoven, this is a finance bill, and we'll move directly into a roll call vote, starting with Iono Dimov. Yes. Moran. Yes. Rahman.
Yes.
Rolls.
Yes.
Marcus.
Yes.
Jones. Pelzer.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Shin. Moisango.
Yes.
Nievenhoven.
Yes.
Kekun. Not present. Azan.
Yes.
Kiemeyer.
Yes.
Moyer.
Yes.
Hartley. Agarwal. Verger.
Yes.
Papanikolaou.
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Momini.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Sloop.
Yes.
Persley.
Yes.
And Cronin. All right, so with the final vote of 27 to 0, the motion carries. Next, we'll move into general orders, starting first with item 2020, oh, pardon me. There we go, if I have the right agenda copy pulled up. Next is item 2025-3-026F, funding an event. Yeah, funding an event for the African Student Association, again with Senator Kiemeyer. Thank you.
It's okay, Quinn. So this is for the African Night event, and I believe, do we have a representative? If you want to go to the front and just talk about the event. Also, this did pass through favorably in Finance Committee.
Hello, everyone. So African Night is an annual event that has been going on since the beginning of the African Students Association. And it's meant to bring together students, alumni as well, that are interested in the African culture and traditions. There will be music, entertainment, art as well. And its essence is to just bring people together with similar interest and background. And
hey, so my name is Prince. I was the president of ASA for the last school year. Right now I'm the co-president. African Night, basically, we just celebrate, hard work. We celebrate Africans. We celebrate the culture. We have food. We have performances. We have art. It's a fun night. People dress up in mostly African attire. Show up, come have a good time. Every year, at least, we gather at least 350 people. Last year, it was about 356, around that number. So it's a big event. It's annual. We've been doing it at least 20 years now. So yeah, it's what we all look forward to in the organization every year.
All right, well, thank you. With that, I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. I would entertain a quick motion to remove Senator Nievenhoven from the roll. Any objections? Pardon me, and Senator Jones from the roll if you'd like to make that both at the same time. All right. Are there any objections? Seeing none, they shall both be removed from the roll. With that, we'll move into discussion, starting with Speaker Momini.
I'm not sure if I missed it. Do we have a time for the event?
Yeah, the doors open at 5, so it goes from am I being loud?
No.
Okay, yeah, it goes from 5 to 9. Food starts at 6, and then the main event is from 7 to 9.
I would make a friendly to add that to the bill. And then, is this a free event for students?
Nope. We usually charge about $5 to $10, depending on if it's a child or adult. And yeah, it's not free.
All right. I think that this is also super awesome, and the news article attached looks like it's a lot of fun. So have fun and congrats.
All right, Senator Kammeier, I'm assuming you accept the friendly to add the time and date. We'll then move to Vice Speaker Pursley.
I just wanted to say I follow your Instagram, and I really love all the promotion for this event. I think it's going to be really fun and exciting, and I'm very in favor of this.
Can I say something? Can I say something about? Yeah. Oh yeah, they forced me to do a lot of those too. I don't want to do it, but I bring views. Well, that's by the way.
Senator Azan.
So I have a question for Senator Kammeier. So they mentioned about the number was around $356 students, or 356 in general, around 350. So the number that we have is $22,000, $2,200. I'm tripping. I don't know why. Okay. Can you talk about that number? Because if we multiply the 8 with 350, that number is supposed to be higher.
For the catering number?
Yeah, for the ethnic food category.
Of course. So this was based on the amount of people who attended the event last year. So since this was held last year, it's not based on their STU.org number. So it's just based on that previous number. And that's what we use to determine how much we could fund.
Yeah, but that number is supposed to be higher if we're taking 350 person attended last year. If you multiply 8 by 350, that number is supposed to be 2,800.
Give you a rough estimate, the exact number is what's as displayed on the bill.
Yes, you can speak.
Okay, yeah. So I think I had spoken to Senator Kammeier.
Yes.
And based on the calculation he gave, I think he said it should be about 2,600. But that was just what we submitted as on the request. That's why you see 2,200. But
Yeah, I was just saying that, if we're gonna go with the numbers of people attended, it's supposed to be 2,800, around that. But the number that we have on the bill is lower, so I was just asking, is there any specific reason? This number seems to be lower, but I yield.
Senator Rolls.
This is more directed towards Noah, but is there a missing line item in the bill? Because currently the amounts do not add up to the total.
Let me get back to you on that.
That's good. I was just curious.
In the meantime, we'll go to Speaker Momini.
Just to address maybe in a little bit more clarifying way, Senator Azan, the food allocations are not determined by how many members they report in their organization. It's like how many members actually attended their event last year, regardless of membership to their organization. Is that more clear?
Yeah, I know about that. Probably that number might be lower in terms of like the exact number that the student organization will have. So I'm aware of that. So they were saying roughly around 350 people show up in the event. So that's why I was asking this question.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I yield.
Senator Kameyer.
Just as a point of information, the number of attendees for the last event was 264. That's why we allocated them 2,112.
But that amount is the amount of people that paid, not the volunteers, not the board members, not anyone else that helped us with anything, because they don't have to pay at all.
Correct.
Just to keep that in mind.
Yeah, so we have all dancers, all singers, anybody that does anything for the event. They don't pay to get in, so that's probably why.
Senator Kameyer.
Okay, I figured out where the mistake was. It's in the food line item. So I motion to amend the total for amount requested from student government to read $6,712.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to amend the total to reflect the correct amount. Are there any objections to that amendment? Seeing none, it shall be made.
And I move to amend the enacted line to read $6,712 be transferred from the Senate discretionary account to the African Student Association account pursuant to the following budget.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to also amend the enacted clause to reflect the same amount. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing none, the amendment shall be made. We're now back on the bill as a whole. Is there a second? Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments with Senator Kameyer?
Yeah, seeing that this event is coming up, I hope that you guys get a really large attendance and that it goes really well.
Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah.
Next week, Saturday, April 19th.
All right. So with that, we can go ahead and move into a roll call vote, starting with Iono Dimoff. Yes. Moran.
Yes.
Rahman.
Yes.
Rolls. Yes. Marcus.
Yes.
Pelzer.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Shin. Moisango.
Yes.
Azan.
Yes.
Kameyer.
Yes.
Moyer.
Yes.
Hartley.
Yes.
Agarwal. Verriger.
Yes.
Papanikolaou.
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Momini. James.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Sloop.
Yes.
Pursley.
Yes.
And Cronin.
Yes.
All right, so with a final vote of 25 to 0, congratulations, the motion carries. Thank you. Next, we'll see item 2025-3-030F, the Ghana Students Association catering event funding, again with Senator Kameyer.
All right, last bill that we have on second read for finance. I believe we have do we have a representative here? Yes, we do. Yes. So if you want to go to the front and just talk about the event and any just questions or answer any questions that may be asked. Thank you.
So hi everyone, my name is Richard Mensah. I'm standing in for our treasurer. So Ghana Student Association actually had our event on the 8th of March. And so this is kind of a reimbursement thing that we submitted for approval. Though prior to the event, we were here to actually defend our request. So when we were done with the event, we just submitted the outcome, and then we are here to request approval for a refund.
With that, we'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion, starting first with Vice Speaker Pursley. Starting first with Senator Kammerer.
I just wanted to start, it's not a reimbursement because you haven't made the payment yet, so just to keep that in mind, the payment has not been made, so it's not a reimbursement, just for the sake of what our PNC entails us to do. Also, I'm going to make an amendment that the first whereas clause, just to show that the event was held in March.
All right, we do have a precedent of adding dates as friendly, so if you'd like to make that a friendly to yourself, I would allow that.
If I'm allowed to do that, then sure.
All right, and so Senator Kammerer, assuming you're finished, we'll move to Vice Speaker Pursley. Moving then to Senator Marcus.
Yeah, I just wanted to add really quickly a little bit on top of what Senator Kammerer was saying. So it is not a reimbursement just because they have not been charged for it yet. They only have the invoice. And when we were talking in Finance Committee, we've said that earlier, it might have been in the fall semester. We have done this before. The Finance Committee has sent a bill exactly like this, same circumstances, just different club, different event. So this is something that student government has done with the people that are currently on student government, just to add that in there.
Senator Azan.
So if the invoice was around $600, what was the criteria that you used to determine how much the student government will fund? Because on the bill, I can see it's like $492 and the organization is paying $108. Is it voluntarily, or what kind of discussion you guys had in the finance?
So we ended up funding this how we would any like event like this, and since I believe they didn't have it the previous year, correct? We ended up using the number on their student organization page, and then times it by the 8 per plate times 1.5.
Oh, that's a food category?
Yes,
Oh,
for
okay.
catering.
Yeah.
Moved and seconded to end debate. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments with Senator Kammerer?
Yeah, I forgot to add this, but this did pass through favorably in finance. Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and move into a roll call vote, starting with Iono Dimoff. Yes. Moran. Yes. Rahman.
Yes. Oh my God, sorry.
All right. Rolls. Marcus.
Yes.
Pelzer.
Yes.
O'Connor.
Yes.
Shin. Moisango. Who has left? Senator Azan.
Absolutely.
That was, for my own clarification, that was a yes. Kammerer.
Yes.
Moyer.
Yes.
Hartley.
Yes.
Agarwal. Verriger.
Yes.
Papanikolaou.
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Mominy.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Bailey.
Yes.
Dugan.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Sloop.
Yes.
Pursley.
Yes.
And Cronin.
Yes.
All right, so with the final vote of 25 to 0, congratulations, the motion carries. If you had a motion. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and move directly into general order, starting first with item 2025-3-001Y, creating a public archive directory to acknowledge past student government members with Senator Azan.
Hello, everyone. First of all, motion to amend the bill as reflected on the screen. Or, I don't know, I can just talk about the bill and then we can do the motions eventually. Okay, so this bill is pretty straightforward. Currently, there's no way to figure out who has served in a student government in the past year. So this is just a way to acknowledge the past members who have worked in a student government for whatever time period. GPSS does have similar thing on their website, so the motivation is coming from that website. So yeah, I talked to our IT director, and he loves the idea and he's on board on that too. So any questions?
Floor is open, starting with Speaker Momini.
This bill went through rules. I forgot to mention it was sent no bias with amendments. So those amendments can be seen in green, and then strike-throughs, as well as some rewording of some of the clauses. I personally am not sure what the purpose of an archive is. If I can just be clear in my opinion on it, I am not sure, other than, you know, records' sake, you could argue, but records are already kept through our MIS. Our MIS does have, going back at least to 2019, I believe. So I suppose I just don't completely understand the point of having it on our website, of having people, pictures who are no longer in Iowa State on our website. It feels a bit arbitrary to me. So that's my opinion on the bill, and then my comments on the amendments by rules.
Senator Azan.
I appreciate the comment. So the idea is to just, instead of removing the whole, whatever the senators, cabinet members, or the president we have on the website, just move it to a new document library on the website. So I understand we do have records in our own personal MIS, but it's not a public information. So the whole motivation is to make it public so that the members can be acknowledged, at least during the time that they served in the student government for their college time period. I'm going to make a motion to amend the bill as reflected on the screen. So
Is
there's
there,
a second.
pardon me, is there a second? Moved and seconded to adopt the amendments on screen as recommended by the Rules Committee. Are there any objections to these amendments? Seeing none, they shall be made. We're now back on the bill as a whole, and we'll move over to Vice Speaker Pursley.
I'm just curious as to where you are going with this bill. I know that in the whereas clause, you talk about articles of the bylaws about updating the student government website, and then you says there is no bylaw mandating the acknowledgement of past members. Are you hoping that this eventually becomes a bylaw? And if not, what is the purpose of the bill if you could have instead just asked the IT director to include this in the website?
Great question. So I did ask to IT director. So the reason that we are putting as a responsibility of an IT director so that there's institutional memory that lost. So for example, right now the IT director agree, you know, you never know about the next IT director, whether he likes the idea or whether she doesn't like the idea or whatever, you know. So that is kind of like part of the responsibility for the IT team to update the website. So it does talk about, as in general, to update the website, but it does not talk about to update the directory as well. So just adding that clause will make sure that there's an institutional memory, and it will happen throughout the years, not just this year, not just the next year. So that's the only motivation. And to be honest, if senators don't like it, we can just vote it down. It's nothing crazy. I don't have brain cells right now to discuss all this. I'm going to call it a call of question. If people like it, they can vote in favor. If they don't like it, that's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal, so I yield.
I'm curious, would this be an archive until the end of time, or would it be sort of like financial documents where you get rid of them after like 10 years or 15 years? Like, would it be refreshed, or would this just go on forever?
Okay, so the things that the Rules Committee actually strike off will mention that we wanted to keep it at least for 4 years, but the rules decided to take it off. So I'm going to believe that you already know because you're also part of the Rules Committee. So right now, as it stands, there's no limit, but the way I wrote this bill, there was a limit and there was extra clause on it that if someone is committed any crime or any issues related to university, the Senate has the power of the IT director to remove that person from that website. So the rules decided to remove that extra layer to protect the student government image. And I'm not going to say anything on that. If rules thinks that way, that's okay. But there was a clause which specifically talks about how many terms that we're going to maintain, how many years we can remove that, and if there's any possible issues with any person committing crime, abuse, or anything, we can remove that person. So right now, as it stands, there's no clause that restrict that. So with that, I yield.
Speaker Momini.
So, as we all know, the bylaws, whatever you put in the bylaws stays in the bylaws. It's public information. Everybody can read it. Rules remove the portion that Senator Azan is talking about because we decided to make it less, as arbitrary as this bill is, to make it less arbitrary, to put it at the discretion of the IT director, to not explicitly state in our bylaws that if somebody commits a crime, we would remove them. I would go as far to say that would be common sense. And so that's why we gave it to the director of IT, as well as the removal in addition would be at the discretion of the IT director. So that was just the thinking in the Rules Committee. If somebody in Rules Committee, please chime in there. And then just for my own thought process behind why it's arbitrary, to better explain this a little bit, is at what point does an IT director decide, oh, it's been 15 years, it's been 4 years, it's been 2 years, it's been 2 months, and I want to remove it? It's either we give them some arbitrary amount of number or we give them arbitrary power that they use however they want. That is in our bylaws. I don't think that it needs to be in the bylaws. I do think that it can be included in transition documents. The bylaws are not the only way to keep a historic record of what we do. That is why we have transition documents. That's why they're supposed to be made. It's supposed to encourage people to continue. Also, if you just have a discussion with our current IT director and he's okay with that and he adds it in before the end of his term, then the next IT director would assumably know that there is an archive and they can contribute to that, or they can remove it if they find that it's not helpful in that way. So that's why I just feel like adding it into our bylaws is purposeless if you think about the point of our bylaws. I just don't think that there's a reason for us to cement a project like this, that it has so many questions behind how long it should be kept and what it should consist of and who should be in it, and what if the IT director does this or this or this or this, or what if the senator or cabinet member does this or this or this. There's too many questions, and that's why I don't think it should be a bylaw. It could be a conversation. I yield. I yield.
Senator Rahman.
I apologize for my aloofness tonight, but I think this has to be one of my favorite bills. I think it's really meaningful. I totally understand the considerations and the technicalities of the length of time an archive should hold a person, but as someone who's a transfer student, I recognize the importance of being remembered in a place that you invested so much time in. In a few years, university will be a memory. And as a medical school applicant, I don't know when I'm going to get into medical school. So it'd be nice if I could tell the medical school that I'm going to, hey, you can look me up and you can see what I've done at university. Hopefully that's in a year. I don't know. But I think it's really important that as senators, we're remembered. And I mean, student government has been going on for more than 100 years. It would be interesting to find descendants of people who were in the same positions as their grandfathers or their grandmothers or their family members. So regardless of technicalities and regardless of how long this takes, I think it's an important project, in my opinion. So that's all I had to say.
Senator Rolls.
Me personally, I have to agree with Speaker Mahoney, sorry. Mainly in terms of it being in the bylaws, I don't think it should be because it's currently looking like a project, and putting those in the bylaws just gets really confusing, because after a while of things, after a year or two of things being in the bylaws, that institutional memory might not be continued. We currently have, I think we had 1 or 2 projects. Yeah, the umbrella sharing project. Just like no one really knows what that was, and it just gets really confusing. So like we aren't sure if we were supposed to remove it or not. And I guess to kind of talk about being remembered, whilst recognition is something people look for, it's not the reason we're here. We're not here to be remembered. We're here to help serve the students, and if we do a good enough job, we can be remembered for that. But just being in Senate for maybe a couple meetings or a semester, it's not that you aren't meant to be remembered. It's just, it can get kind of convoluted, I guess. But that's just my thoughts on it. But thank you, I yield.
Senator Verriger.
I just had a question, like if you, for Senator Azan, have you guys figured out how this would look like as like an archive yet? Like, would it be all the individual names? I know it'd be separated by year, but are you thinking more like individual, or would it be like yearbook style with like a group photo and then you can go to the names? Like, I'm just curious.
Okay, so what we are thinking right now is to just start from this year so that we don't have to do a little bit more digging or whatever, to figure out who served what time period. So it will be a smooth transition. So the next executive or the IT director will know who is working in student government, right? So it will be just whatever the names that we have in our MIS for this year or the student government website moves to a different folder named archive. So I don't know what's confusing here and in terms of the process or whatever. So whatever information that we have on the website with the senator. So right now your name is on the website. It will be taken off next year. But that instead of taking that off, it will be in the archive directory. So there's only one command, one thing that you have to add into the website. Instead of removing it, you just move it to a different folder named archive. So in terms of technicalities or anything, I don't think so there's so much complex or so much confusion related to this. The only confusion I can think of is how long we want to keep that. We want to stop at 10 years or we want to stop at 20 years or how long we can hold that data. So that is the only thing that we can discuss. That might be, so I put a limit on this bill for keeping it for at least 4 years, but the rules decided to take it off. So again, it's up to the Senate if they want to put a limit that we want to keep the record for 10 years, we can keep it on for 10 years. But if we don't want to put a limit, then it will be the discussion of the next Senate to make an amendment or change it to put a limit on it. But as it is right now, whatever information that we have on the website, the cabinet members or the senators will move to a different folder on the website, documents. We have like bunch of tabs on the website. It will just move to a different folder named archive, which mention about the past members, including president, vice president, cabinet members, senators, and the election commission members and the judiciary members. So yes, with that I yield.
And then I just had a secondary question for anybody who knows, but we talked about a lot tonight with like student government's rich history. Is there anywhere on the website or anything linking to the website that talks about our history here at Iowa State? I yield time to the IT director.
So I was actually just talking with Quinn about this right before the meeting. There is not. In the main page, before I changed it last night, it had a little bit about the history, but not much. But that was something that I was talking to Quinn about before this meeting. And so that is a plan of mine. Regarding the archive, it's it would be pretty easy to implement. Pretty much in the amount of time we've been talking about it, I could have had it like done. So it's not a matter of technical, it's just a matter of whether you want to do it. It's up to the Senate of whether it's a thing you want or not. It's not a lot to maintain from a technical perspective. It's not going to be a lot of work. When the terms switch, it's just a matter of, currently it's set to display everyone from this term, and I'm going to have the people lined up in the back end. And then when the terms switch, I just click 2 buttons and it'll switch all the people over. So it's just a matter of making a new page and then having it just stay the old term and changing a bit of the wording to say archive and stuff. So it's really not a lot of technical work. It's more just, is it something that you want? Is it something that you want public from the past? And that's up to the Senate. So thank you.
I yield.
Vice Speaker Pursley.
I really like this project. I think it's a great idea. I think it's really cool to be able to look at the history of things. I'm in favor of this project as something that the IT director does and is included in their transition documents or in their tasks, but I am not in favor of this project being added to the bylaws. As someone who has read and worked on the bylaws in depth, I just don't think that this is the correct location for this. I think it could be done as a project and continued on for years to come, and I think we can still do it as a project without it in our bylaws. So for that reason, I'm not in support of the bill, but I'm in support of the idea and of the project. Also, I motion to remove Senator Dugan from the roll.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Seeing none, Senator Dugan shall be removed from the roll.
I yield.
Senator Zahn, I do apologize. You've used both of your speaking privileges, but someone may, of course, yield one to you. Senator Snyder, who's yielding to Senator Azan.
The only reason that I'm putting this, or the sponsors that we have on the bill agree with the idea of this, is to make sure this project continues. You know, if you're just going to put this as a transitioning document, there's no guarantee that the other, director or the executive team will want to continue with that project. So this can easily be removed from that priorities that the cabinet have. So that's the only motivation. In the bylaws, we do have a specific description of the job responsibility of each cabinet members. So when Vice Speaker Josie was saying that she thinks it should not be in the bylaws, I respectfully disagree, because we do have job description of all the cabinet members in our bylaws, and these descriptions include specific details what they should have to do. So having this as a job description that, okay, this is one of the things that the IT director needs to do, will make sure that we can make that person accountable next year as a Senate. If that person or the cabinet is not doing it, that will be something that we can take action based on our bylaws. But if there's no thing in the bylaw, it will not be something that we can take action. I yield.
Senator Kameyer.
I think we're going in circles here. I think we should change it from student initiatives to events, or sorry, wrong one. Anyway, I called a question.
Speaker Momini. Brutal.
Am I out of speaking privileges? What? Am I out of speaking privileges?
That is your second.
This is?
No, actually you are.
Can somebody give me a speaking privilege?
Senator Hartley.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want to quickly respond to Azan. Our bylaws, the effective ones, do not determine projects to be done by cabinet members. They determine official duties that significantly impact the operation of our body, and an archive does not significantly impact the operation of our body. It should be a project. Projects that have previously been included in our bylaws have failed. There's not enough context, and people do not know what we're referring to unless we substantially extend the definition, and then our bylaws become 68 pages, 100 pages, 500 pages, and nobody's reading those bylaws. It's excruciating. Nobody wants to read something 500 pages long because every project has to be explained if you want it to be carried through. This is a project, not a task that is directly related to the fundamental purpose of our organization. I do support the project. I support it being a conversation or a transition document, not a bylaw. For those reasons, I yield.
Senator Rolls does have something if you'd like to withdraw. Up to you. Senator Rolls.
Sorry. I just echo what Mamani said. I do like the project. Well, actually, I'll say, lucky for you, I got the bylaws down to 50 pages, so it's no longer 100. But there's just some sort of like director, like county positions, like, and so they might have some jobs that they may do. If they don't do that position, it might not get put in the transition document. So we just have a meaningless bylaw point that hasn't been done in years. I know rules we just took out, like maybe like a handful of, like, I can't think of the word. It's been a long day. But we took away about a handful of things from director positions just because they weren't being done. But with that, call a question.
Second.
Pardon me?
The mic time to move on. Or did we already?
Well, unless it was withdrawn, we just had a motion moved and seconded to end debate. So unless there are strong feelings, I assume you'll stick with it. All right, moved and seconded to end discussion. Are there any objections to doing so?
Do you want to add one more? True. Okay, so.
Closing comments with Senator
Yes. So if you guys, can you zoom in, Alex, on the bill? Or by the way, you can look in your laptop too. So if you read the article bylaws 4.4.7.1 of a student government bylaws require the director of IT of a student government to update the student government website with current office holders. So again, it's already in the bylaws. So what I am asking, or what we are asking, is to just add past members. I'm just so confused because you guys are the
Point of
Rules
order.
Committee, so.
We're actually taking that bylaw out in our current revision, so.
I would take it as a point of information.
So
Point of
far it's not
information.
out, so I'm reading the one that we have, the updated one on our student government website. So we have not passed that, whatever you are saying. So right now, as it stands, it is in our bylaws that the IT director needs to update the student government members need to update the website with the student government member. So what this bill is just asking is to add the past members on the bill. With that, I yield. Thank you.
All right. And so with that, I'll do this as a placard vote unless there's strong desire for a roll call vote. Roll call vote has been called for. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or of course you may abstain, starting with Iono Dimoff. Moran. Rahman. Rolls. Marcus. Pelzer. O'Connor. Shin. Moisango. Azan. Kameyer. Moyer.
No.
Hartley. Agarwal. Oh, who we removed from the roll. Verriger. Papanikolaou. Snyder. Okay. Momini. James. Bailey. Neal? Sloop? Pursley? And Cronin? Going back to Kammerer? Verriger? And Snyder?
No.
And also Neal? One moment while we tally the results. All right, thank you very much for your patience. As some context, constitutionally bylaw amendments require an affirmative 2/3 vote of present senators, and so having received a vote of 5 to 10 to 8, the motion does not carry. With that, we'll move on to item 2025-3-001 SR, supporting student diversity and belonging at Iowa State with Senator Kammerer.
All right. Hi, everyone. So this felt like sort of a podium bill. So I had a full speech written out for this, but it is past 9 o'clock already, so I'll spare you guys. I'll just say, when I first wrote this resolution, I wasn't as passionate about the one that you'll see later on first read, but I feel like it's grown on me because I think that the idea of supporting students, especially right now, is very important. Students obviously go through so much stress, just living their lives and having to deal with academic stress on top of that, and to have to deal with political stress as well. It makes it tough. It makes it hard for a lot of people. And I think reaffirming our commitment is important. Thank you.
With that, the floor is open for debate, starting with Vice Speaker Pursley.
Our job as senators is to represent our constituents, and I think our constituents, the students, have made it very clear that this is something that they're passionate about, that this is something that's really important to them. And I think we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't pay attention to this bill. I yield.
Speaker Momini.
I agree. I really want to stress that for a lot of students, it's scary to be exactly who you are, to be something that you can't change, to be anything that you want to be in a place where you're not welcomed, where there's legislation or people who are telling you that you're not welcome there. It's a scary time. As a student, as a person, I think that we need to pay attention to these things. And I'm going to leave you all with a question. You answer it and you interpret it whatever way you want, but what side of history do you want to be on?
Senator Neal.
I just wanted to thank Senator Kammerer and everyone else who sponsored this bill for bringing this bill forward. I think it's really important. A lot of students here, including myself, I came to Iowa State thinking it would be a better place to be than the place I was coming from, and to have that change so suddenly is really not a good experience. And so I think the least we can do is to show our students and the people we represent and the people who ask us to make decisions for them that we support them, and that's not going to change whether or not the university takes a stand or whether or not the government is supporting them. So just think about it and think about who your constituents are, because I guarantee that this affects at least one of them, but I guarantee you it's a lot more.
Senator Moyer.
I think it's important to show them that we're standing with them as a community and that they're not alone, and that, yeah, a lot of scary things are happening, but we have your back. I'd like to echo that University of Iowa has made a lot of public statements as well. So staying strong together is very important.
Senator Rolls.
I just want to echo what everybody else has said so far. By not kind of acknowledging the issues that are currently going on, we are effectively alienating a part of the population, and that's not what we should be doing as representatives of our constituents, as in just ignoring some people. That's not our job. So it's our duty to listen to what everybody has to say and acknowledge the issues that are happening. And it's a tough time for everybody, so it's best we do something about it.
Senator Azan.
I do remember when you discussed this bill to me, and you remember my response as well. Because of the current political environment, I wanted to not put my name on it as a document, but I do support this bill and the efforts that you guys have done, and we have to acknowledge that there are things that are very, very extreme for a certain population, and we have to acknowledge and respect that and support as much as we can. Thank you for doing this.
With that, the floor is open for any further discussion. Moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Are there any objections to doing so? Seeing no objections, any closing comments with Senator Kammeier?
Yeah, I'll just thank everyone for the discussion. I mean, the last time I did a resolution like this, we kind of awkwardly did amendments and then we didn't say anything and it just kind of passed. So I appreciate the discussion and showing of support from all of you. Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. UC has been called for. Are there any objections to passing this motion by way of unanimous consent? Seeing no objections, congratulations, the motion carries. With that, we'll move directly into our new business items for this evening, starting with item 2025-3-002Y, updating the student government bylaws with Speaker Momine.
All right, on to a much less stressful topic, maybe not for the Rules Committee. There may be tears in this document somehow. Please give it your thorough attention. As I mentioned earlier, Rules will be giving it again or even more thorough attention tomorrow to make sure it's in tip-top shape for you all next week. That's about it. Any questions?
With that, the floor is open for any questions of intent with Senator Azan.
Okay. Did you get a chance to look at 4.4.7.8 document in our bylaws?
We looked at every bylaw.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
Any further questions of intent? Seeing none, this item will return next week. We'll now move on to item 2025-3-002SR, again with Senator Kammeier.
So speaking of the other resolution, so if you haven't had a chance to read through this yet, I really encourage you to do so. It's very passionate. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
The floor is open for any questions of intent. Seeing no questions of intent, this item will return next week. And lastly, we'll look at item 2025-3-034F with Senator Kammeier.
Well, it would be really cool if the last finance bill was the big picture bill. Unfortunately, we had another funding request come in, and I wrote this one. Fortunately, sorry, Evan. So I wrote this one 5 minutes before the meeting. Anyway, it's co-signed by everyone on finance, and we'll see it on Friday. Thank you.
The floor is open for any questions of intent. All right, seeing none, once again, that will return next week. So with that, having completed our business for this evening, I'll go ahead and open the floor for any general closing announcements, starting with Senator Rolls.
And we'll keep it short. Read the bylaws or else bad things will happen.
Any further? Senator Azan.
I'm just going to echo with Senator Rolls here. Please read the bylaw, especially 4.4.7.8, which says, ensure that all whatever the word is, document data is available on the public webpage for indefinite period of time. Bedding space and bandwidth limitations at the discretion of the Director of Information Technology. It's very important bylaws that we have in the updated version that we read on first read. If you do have very strong opinion on that, please come with ideas next week so that we can discuss, or we have to maybe amend this. It just, we don't, I will say, follow it currently. So with that, yeah, are you?
Senator Kammeier.
Sorry, everyone. I just wanted to thank everyone for some mostly good discussions throughout the day. Also, thank you for passing my resolution. Been a tough couple of weeks for me. I know we don't really open up about that too much, but it means a lot. Thank you.
Any further closing announcements? Speaker Mamane?
Just going to make a comment as a senator, not as a speaker, as my closing announcement. As a senator, please read all parts of the bylaws. The word to stress there was aforementioned. If you read the several points above that, it talks about those things that need to be kept indefinitely. In the part where I said fundamentally important to our organization, those are the things that we include in the bylaw, and that is what was therefore aforementioned in the point that was called to your attention. That's it. I yield.
The floor is open for any further closing announcements. All right, seeing none, I would echo what Senator Kammeier said. Thank you all for a lively meeting with a lot of great discussion. I, as always, appreciate that. The only closing announcement I have is to remind you that if you have not yet received your new student government polo, come down to the executive office after this and retrieve it from me. So with that, I'll yield to the Vice Speaker.
Okay, I have a couple things. We've put in a lot of work on the bylaws. Make sure you're actually reading them beforehand. There's a lot of things that are going to be changing for senators. And if you're curious about that, you probably should read it. Secondly, I would just like to announce to all of you guys, it's important that you pay attention during Senate and you're not doing homework or things on your computers, because it's important to know when it's your time to vote. You know, saying your name when your name is called, or saying what you're voting when your name is called. Just be paying attention. And then third thing, please pick up after yourself in the office. Someone was sitting at my desk and left a bunch of trash on my desk. I didn't really appreciate that. So if you are going to be sitting in someone's area, please clean after yourself. Just in general, clean up after yourself. And yeah, make sure to do your office hours.
All right, I know it's been a long night, longer than I anticipated personally. So that's it. Next week, it is our last meeting as a, for our term. Please come with questions. Please come prepared to discuss the bylaws. I would really appreciate it. Please come with your heads ready to go. I know we're all really ready to be done, but this last week and up until inauguration is important. It is impactful. So please continue to do your duties, even if we're all really tired. With that, motion to adjourn.
With that, we are adjourned. See you next week.